Hi, my name is Dr. Gail Joplin Hall, and I'm so glad you joined me today because I have something really exciting to share with you. I've kept it under wraps even from my very best friends, so it's like the biggest, most incredible thing for me. Writing my first book, I've co-authored 3, as you know, but this book is called Sucker Punched. That's right, Sucker Punched with an ED. Every single person can relate to this. I'd like one person in the world to tell me when they haven't had that blow to the belly where they've just been like, oh, that hurt. Okay? So every single one of us has experienced this at some point in time in our life where they're like, where did that come from? Yeah, it was a sucker punch. You might not have known it at the time, but you were sucker punched. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown as to what the chapters in my book are. So you're going to have something to really look forward to. You're going to want to run out and buy this book because it's going to help you. This is a self-help book, but it's funny, it's fun, and it's something you're going to want to have on your shelf. Okay, so chapter 1 is what is the meaning of sucker punch and what does it feel like? I define sucker punch, and I think I just did by saying, feels like you just got socked in the gut. Sucked and socked in the gut, okay? It hurts. It's painful, comes out of nowhere, comes when you least expect it. That's what it feels like, and that's what it means in a nutshell. I give examples throughout the whole book, okay, of my private life because I do disclose, I like to share. I'm a storyteller. Any of my former students can tell you that. Any of my training sessions, my professionals in the field, they can tell you that. My colleagues can tell you that. I'm very animated, yes. I'm always doing this, always talking with my hands when I'm passionate about something. Very passionate about my book, very excited about my book. The second chapter, we get right down into dating, love, relationships. Who has not had their heart broken in a dating relationship or in love or in whatever kind of relationship? My parents have been married for 59 years. I always thought it would be me too. Well, didn't. It sucks. It blows. I've had some real heartbreaks, and I have done it to other people too, and I hate to admit it, but yes, I have sucker punched a couple people, not intentionally. So guys, not intentionally. I love men, but it's happened. So I give a couple of examples of that. I talk about sex. We talk about everything in the book. So another good reason to buy the book. We mentioned some of those dirty little words, but yes, we do get into that. Okay. The third chapter, talk about domestic violence. And the reason I do is because it's a huge part of my life. That to me was my worst sucker punch of all, and I call it my sucker punch nightmare. I ended up being homeless, experienced homelessness in my own home for 4 days. I had a brand new baby, only 3.5 months old, and yet I was homeless for 4 days because I was so ashamed. I experienced so much shame and blame that I couldn't go home. I couldn't go home. I couldn't go to a hotel for fear of being found. So I had to sleep in my car with my new baby for 4 days. Pretty embarrassing, pretty shameful. Talk about the ultimate sucker punch in the gut. Yeah, that happened to me. So people look at me because I'm successful and they think, no way. Family member just found out about that and they were shocked. Yep, happened to me. Okay, so chapter 4, you're fired. Who hasn't heard that? Well, my daddy hasn't. He told me he's never been fired from a job. God love him. I've been fired from 2 jobs. It was sucker punched right in the belly. The last time I was fired, I knew it was coming. I even called my dad on my cell phone and I said, you know what, Dad? Boss just asked me to stay after work. My boss had never asked me to stay after work. I was the #1 salesperson in the company. I brought in $1 million the first year. I was #1 in the company. But the company had changed ownerships 3 times in 2 years. The writing was on the wall. I was paid the most money. That's why they had to let me go. Yep, I was sucker punched. I got fired that day. It blew me away. I just bought a brand new Harley. I bought a brand new car. I had redone my house. Had some other things that I'd spent my money on because I thought I had good money coming in. That was a really low blow. Tough, tough, tough lesson. Was without a job for quite a while after that. That was not a good feeling. But very good things came from that. Good things always come from sucker punches if you learn those lessons, okay? Chapter 5 is called midlife crisis or career change. Call it what you want to. Most men call it having a midlife crisis. Women talk about going through the change of life, a career change. That's chapter 5. It covers, that's why this book is applicable to whether you're a man, a woman, whether you're 16, whether you're 116. This book covers all age ranges, everything, every socioeconomic status. It's for you. Chapter 6, I call it the sinful sucker punch. The reason why? I had a nervous breakdown. I had a nervous breakdown on 9/11/2009. I don't think most people would admit this. In fact, I don't know anybody, I've never known anybody who has ever admitted having a nervous breakdown besides me. But I've even shared this with my college students when I was a professor, and the reason why is because they could learn from it. I learned from it. Not proud of it, but I learned from it, okay? So I call it the sinful sucker punch of all time. I had a nervous breakdown, but you know what? The outcome from this was me. I'm a doctor now. So yeah, call me Dr. Hall. I earned it. I earned those bragging rights. Chapter 7 is called Duped, when helping backfires. Is that a sucker punch? I'm going to let you think on that one. I'm not going to tell you any more about chapter 7. Chapter 8, exempt. Who's exempt? Is anybody exempt from being sucker punched in life? I think the answer is no. I am going to teach you skills to surround yourself with positive psychology, which I practice in my own life, so that you do not have to deal with being sucker punched ever again. You're going to learn how to avoid negativity, how to avoid negative people. I've developed a sucker punch syndrome. I'm going to teach you these things in this book. This is going to be a workbook. You can read it for fun. You can read it because there's great stories. There is little, at the end of every single chapter, there's little bullet questions. I call it reflective thinking, to get you thinking about how this could work in your own life, how these things could happen to you, what would work for you, what wouldn't work for you. So I get you thinking on every single chapter. But I have developed a syndrome, and I have developed symptoms, and I have developed ways to get through these individual things in every single scenario. Chapter 9, hope arrives in many different disguises. If you never give up hope, there's always, always, always a brighter tomorrow. When I got fired, as I mentioned, I thought my world had ended. I thought my financial woes were like, what am I going to do? In fact, I cried. I bawled my head off all the way home. Snot was flying everywhere. It wasn't a very pretty sight. Okay, told you I was going to get down and dirty here. So it wasn't a pretty sight. But what was waiting for me on the other side, God had big plans for me, and I just didn't know it. I just didn't know it. So again, I was sucker punched, but hope. If you never give up on hope, bigger things are waiting. Bigger things are waiting for you. You can't see hope, and you can't touch hope. It's kind of like love. It's one of those things you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. It's not one of those touchy-feely things. But boy, howdy, if you don't give up on hope, you've got it in the bag. You've got it all. Chapter 10, I'm going to teach you how to actually just kick the sucker punch syndrome to the curb for life. And I mean that. We are going to hold hands, and we are going to kick the sucker punch syndrome to the curb so that you never have to deal with this ever again. Are you going to hit some roadblocks along the way in your life? Of course you are, don't we all? But you're going to have the tools that you need to recognize it before it happens. As it happens, if it does, along the way, you're going to be better equipped to deal with this. So run out, buy the book the minute it's available, which is very soon, and I'll be shining my love into your world. Thank you.